Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. Today it is part 2 of my weekend at the 2024 Carlisle Chrysler Nationals. We started the day off just by watching the cars idle in and listening to that sweet, sweet exhaust. Check out this Volare wagon, followed by a 71 Cuda. Nice 1970 Superbird. Now, I just love these 1970 Chrysler 300 Hearst editions. As I mentioned in the previous video, I love these Little Red Express trucks. This one's a 79, I prefer that grille, and check out the Ram Air setup on these. Step-side bed with the wood grain, just super cool. What a wild factory truck, right? Now, 1970 Challengers are all over the place at the show, but I just really liked this one. I thought this color was cool, and it had a matching interior, and it was a convertible, had a stick shift. It was just a, maybe not top muscle car, but just a nice cruiser. And check out this 1970 Cuda, same color, and that shaker graphic is just so funny. My girlfriend said it gave her a headache, and I totally see where she's coming from. It's wild. Now this Barracuda was a Grand Coupe, and it actually had the gator grain roof on it. I just love the different types of vinyl roofs you could get throughout the 60s and 70s. Here we go, 1966 Dodge Charger. This is CC1 blue, and this is actually the same blue that my Coronet is. So I always try to take pictures and videos of cars of similar colors. This one was running some modern AR500 style wheels. And these gauges are pretty cool. Electroluminescent, I think they're called. Now here's another nice Charger, 1971 Charger RT. I just love the color matched front end on this thing. Kind of an odd brown interior with the red paint, but man, look at that sunroof. Sunroof cars are crazy rare. Also a 4-speed. Here's another early 70s B-body. Check out this Roadrunner. Hellcat swapped. I think this is fake patina, but it looks pretty convincing. Now here's what makes this show great. You can see all sorts of stuff. 1971 Plymouth Satellite. This is a sedan, had a slant 6, and it's a 3 on the tree. How many of these cars were crushed because they were just cars back in the day, right? This was cool. And as I mentioned, I've got a soft spot for these 66 Coronets. This one's a 500. Air conditioning car with a big block. Bucket seats, which is pretty cool. Mine's a bench. Right next to it is another 66 Coronet. This one's a convertible, also with bucket seats. Stick shift, very cool. Also a big block. This one's got a 440, which wasn't available until 1967 in these cars, and it's got air conditioning that still works great. Yet again, another 66 Coronet. This one's a post car, but man, check that out. 426 Hemi. I bet this thing is a rocket ship. Just looks perfect in black with a red interior. Stick shift, come on now. Steel wheels with dog dish hubcaps. This thing just looks right. Still prefer the fastback Coronet, but post cars are pretty cool looking. Now here we have a 68 Coronet Super B, and I just love the Ram Charger Ram Air system that these cars have. It's just a cool way of getting cool air into the engine. How could you not love the Super B graphic? Now check out this Plymouth with a 413 wedge motor. Fender exit headers. This thing is wild. Could you imagine this thing tearing up the streets back in the 60s? The red interior seriously popped, and it was a push-button automatic. Single pot master. I mean, this thing was ready to rip. This is pretty light. I think it's a radio delete car too. 1970 Dodge Super Bee. But this one, green with the light green stripe and the green interior. This is how cars should be. I love green interiors. Bring them back. And not to mention, it's a 4-speed. Here's another cool induction system on this 1970 Roadrunner. I just love that Coyote Duster graphic. Now this thing was gorgeous. Chrysler Town & Country wagon with the TNT 440. I love that each branch of Chrysler had their own name for the big block. Now this had a faux sort of wood grain on the side, super glossy. This thing, I wish this could have come home with me. Now here's an early Coronet. Check this thing out. These are pretty. You don't see these too much anymore. The fins on these are just so aggressive. This is a Plymouth Belvedere, I believe 1960, and another car with crazy fins. I just love these. Now this is my girlfriend's favorite car, this AMC Gremlin Levi's edition. Check out that denim interior. I love this sort of periwinkle color that's on the car, just perfect. And I just love the little Gremlin badge. Come on. This one had the 4.2 liter straight six in it. I don't know if I'll ever see another one of these AMC Matador wagons. Kind of an ugly car, but it's lovable, right? This thing was either restored or just kept all original. Who knows? I wish I could have talked to the owner. This thing is so rad. AMC Eagle wagon. These are just so rad. Some of the first production kind of 4x4 cars. This was sort of an odd idea back in the day. Now check this out. 1969 AMC Hearst SC Rambler. Rare car. I love the red, white, and blue motif. This thing was pretty rough, but it had the right look. AMC Spirit AMX. Look at that hood. This thing was so squatty, had that wide body, had the aggressive rear spoiler on it. Stick shift. This is a cool car. I prefer the Charger Daytona over the Superbirds. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I had a Hot Wheel that was a Charger Daytona back in the day. I just like the way these cars look. I think they're a little bit cleaner, and I love the tail stripe. I saw this Chrysler Imperial, and it just made me think of Nolan from Donut Media, so shout out to Nolan. This thing had real patina, was looking right on the red steel wheels with the white walls. I was able to talk to the owner of this 69 Super Bee. Cool car, really nice owner. And it was purchased new by his parents, and he drove the car to high school. And this was, I think he said, one of 2 cars in this butternut color. And he said it was such an unpopular color that Chrysler discontinued it after 2 years. Here's another Super Bee. I just loved the stance of this thing. This year, Carlisle was celebrating the A12 pack on these Super Bees. So just a ton of cool examples here. And like I said, here is another. Check this thing out. This Super Bee was just left out to rot in a field, it looks like. I didn't get the full story, but man, this thing was roached. Some of these wheels were only held on with like 1 lug nut too. But hey, it's here and with us, and that's worth something, right? I didn't get a great shot of the floors in this thing, but they were gone. There were no floors. You were Fred Flintstoning this thing down the road. One of my favorite things about Carlisle is checking out the 80s and 90s front-wheel drive Dodges and Plymouths. These were cool cars. This IROC Daytona is no exception. Check it out. I believe this is a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. These were potent little performance cars, and I think a lot of people don't know about them. Now, I believe this was a 1981 Chrysler LeBaron wagon, or it could have been an 81 Town and Country wagon. It just looked cool. It had modern wheels on it, looked right. Alright, one of my favorite cars in the show, I've mentioned this car before. This is an 81 Dodge Challenger. Yes, they made these cars. Really what they did was import the cars and rebadge them as Dodges. These were Mitsubishis. Plymouth had a sister car called the Sapporo. These bear a striking resemblance to like the four-eyed Mustangs, like a 79 Mustang or something like that. I want one of these so bad. And this one was wild. Like a Resto Mod Challenger is even crazier. I've only seen one of these in a show before, and that was at the Syracuse Nationals, and that one was all original. So this one's bonkers. This thing was so cool to see, and the only one at the show. And I love me some Chrysler Conquests. Here's an oddball, a Dodge St. Regis. They made these the tail end of the 70s and early 80s. I think they use these mostly as cop cars, but just a cool thing to see. I think, again, the only one at the show. This one looks to be some sort of service vehicle. You can just see on that rear post a little bit of numbers. Check this monster out. Hellcat swapped Roadrunner. It's kind of cool to see the modern Chrysler shifter in the center console. And it's a sunroof car, which is rad. Here's a cool one. I believe this is a 1974, but this is a Brazilian Dodge Charger. I've never seen one of these in the flesh. I've only seen them as a Hot Wheel. One thing that stood out to me was the front end. I like how these aren't really hidden headlights. The headlights are just behind a grille. But these rear pillars are wild looking. They're very, very raked back. I believe this thing is based on just a Dodge Dart. Now check this one out. This is a 1973 Chrysler Newport. It's just in immaculate condition. Very cool that someone saved this car. I think it looks very similar to like a 73 Impala too. Now, if you watched my part 1 video last week, you'll recognize this car. This is a 1969 Dodge Monaco wagon. And yeah, this was another one of my favorites. It had the super light in the front row, which was like an extra auxiliary light. I love Dusters. This one was the most unique one here. It was rolling on Graham lights. Someone hotted up the Slant 6 with triple carbs. Had lots of nice JDM touches too. Some Sparco seats and a quick release wheel. This thing was so rad. This was a 318 poly motor that was in a 65 or a 66 Monaco, I believe. Just cool to see when people build them up a little bit. This had headers, had the finned aluminum valve covers, and check out the carburetor situation. To me, that looks like 3 2-barrel carburetors. Very sweet. This truck was looking at me funny. This is a Dodge Charger, okay? I took a picture of one of the spoilers in the swap meet last week. This is a Shelby Charger. This had a 2.2 liter turbo engine. And who doesn't love a K car? Check out this 1981 Plymouth Reliant. And an 87 Dodge Aries right next to it. Check out this Woody wagon, SRT 4 swapped as well. Now check out this pair of Dodge Spirits. This maroon example had a V6, and its red counterpart was an RT. So it's got a turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder in it. Now this was an oddball, a Dodge Intrepid RT. I think it's cool that these front-wheel drive cars had a longitudinal V6 instead of like a transversely mounted V6. Chrysler had all sorts of wacky RT models, and they're just fun to see now. I really appreciate them more. These 300Ms look great even today, and they were a pretty advanced design from back in the day from what I've read. These had a big V6, I think they were 3.5 liter, made like 250-ish horsepower, which was pretty healthy for back in the day. Made equivalent power to the V8s. While those oddball cars are all fine and dandy, you still gotta love Dodge Vipers. This was a GTS and it had these awesome gold wheels. As you may have guessed from last week's video, I also love Plymouth Prowlers. Anyone who says they don't like Plymouth Prowlers, they're lying to you. These things were wild looking cars. Amazing they even produced them. Another cool Viper, it's an ACR. I usually see ACRs in like black and red or red and black, but this one was blue. Neon SRT4s, these were supreme little compact performance cars back in the early 2000s. They had some awesome factory performance parts too. Now, I just liked the color of this neon. Very similar to the Levi's Gremlin. It's just amazing that people kept these cars that were just like throwaway basic cars, and there's a big following for these. I should have taken better pictures and videos of this truck, but man, this Dodge swept line with the Viper V10, crazy. 615 horsepower too. And check out this pair of Dodge Daytona turbos, both Shelby cars. I didn't spend a ton of time looking at modern cars at the show, but I did see this Ram 1500 roll in on these weld wheels, and I wanted to get a better look at it. Yeah. Looking under the hood, it's got the 5.7 liter with the e-torque electric power generator, and it's got a Pro Charger. The truck just sits right on these wheels, just a nice looking rig. And I loved this 4x4 D100. Anytime you see a Ram truck, you gotta check it out. That's just a rule. These things are so rad. I would love to tow a race car around on one. And without further ado, here are some clips from the Burnout competition on Saturday, and I'll quit yapping so you can enjoy the exhaust notes. Obviously, as our first competitor, he'll be our first king of the hill, but then as the other challenge, thanks for watching. Hope to be there again next year, and let me know what your favorite car was.